Hello and welcome to Hope After. This is a Christ-centred journey toward healing in marriage and a space for couples walking through the impact of hidden pornography. And everything we share here comes from lived experience because we've walked this road ourselves. And what we offer has been shaped through the healing and rebuilding God has led us through. And as Scripture reminds us, God restores what has been broken, and we're called to walk with others as that restoration unfolds. So this isn't theory, it's truth lived out and shared carefully with you. This episode is about honesty over hindsight, because there's something really important about looking back honestly, not to stay in the past, but to understand what was really happening. Because what we tell ourselves in those moments matters. We all create internal narratives to cope, and those narratives, they feel true at the time, but often they're incomplete or distorted. And healing requires revisiting them gently, not harshly. So this reflection is not accusation, it's not about blame, it's about understanding what was going on underneath the surface and how what felt true then looks different now. Because men aren't sitting there intentionally choosing harm, and women aren't overreacting, they're responding to something real. And both operate with limited understanding unless they reflect and look back. We've identified 5 things that men tend to tell themselves when they're using porn, and their use tends to sit inside at least one of these categories. The first one is minimizing, where they say it's not that bad. Number 2 is compartmentalizing, which is where they believe that this porn use is separate from my marriage. Number 3 is normalizing. Everyone does it. My mate does it. His wife doesn't mind. Number 4 is the illusion of control, which is I can stop when I want to. Number 5 is avoidance. I just didn't think about it too much. And number 6 is about protecting identity, which is saying that they're not that kind of man. Now, we're going to talk in more detail about each of these internal narratives that men sit with and use when porn is in their lives. And then Jez is going to share about how things were for him. So first of all, minimizing. The idea is what feels small at the time is actually shaping far more than the man realizes, because at the time they may tell themselves something like it wasn't really a big deal, or he didn't see it as something serious, and in his head it may not have been affecting anything important, and maybe they're going to downplay the whole thing. The second one is compartmentalizing, which is where they mentally separate behaviour from the marriage, but it was never actually separate. They keep it in a separate box in their minds. They don't connect it to the us. They see it as their own secret thing. And they think that they can keep that part of their life over here and their marriage over there. So normalizing is the most common one. It's the cultural messaging which makes it easier to justify and harder to question. So the man will lean on the idea that it's normal, or he may think it's okay because his mate does it, that it's just what men do. And it's so common that they perhaps didn't question it properly. And it's a way of avoiding really looking at what's going on. Illusion of control is when the man believes he's in control until he actually tries to stop. And they believe that they can genuinely stop it whenever they want to, or it feels like that porn does not have a hold on them. And it's more of a choice rather than something deeper, such as an addiction or a bad coping mechanism. Fifth is avoidance. It's where they're not thinking about how it was part of how it continued. And they avoid thinking about it properly. They just keep themselves busy enough not to look at it too closely, not to worry about it, not to consider asking deeper questions about impact or secrecy. And it becomes a part of them that they just don't want to know. So they just avoid thinking about it. And number 6 is quite tricky to deal with. It's protecting identity, because the self-image is really important, and it prevents him from fully facing reality. So they refuse to see themselves as someone with a problem. The porn use doesn't fit how they see themselves as a husband or as a leader of the house. And protecting their identity by not naming it honestly is what they tend to do, because admitting it means rethinking who they think they are. So, Jez, looking at those things which we've covered, do any of those resonate with you?
Yeah, listening to you speaking there, if I'm honest, I would think all of those points I can relate to.
So looking at minimising, how did that figure in your mind?
Well, I think at the time I would tell myself it wasn't really a big deal. I didn't see it as something serious. And in my head, I wasn't affecting any issues with our marriage. But I think deep down, I was absolutely lying to myself. Because I knew in my head, if it came out, what would happen.
Yeah. Now, I know compartmentalising is a long word, but it's one that I think you've said to me previously that that's how it operated in your life, that it was your own secret world.
Yeah, I did. It was my secret world. It was my safe place where I could go and not feel all those failures that I felt in the past.
And you kept it very separate from your marriage, because it's like your marriage is over here on the left or whatever, and the porn use is over here on the right, and the two aren't remotely connected.
They're not connected at all. And if you look at it quite seriously, you can you weigh those two things up, marriage and the porn, then it becomes the secret world as well, isn't there? Which you know in your own mind, if that secret came out, again, how damaging it would be.
Yeah. And I guess that's why it's really important to try and keep it separate, so that, you're not found out, or you don't have to admit about what's been going on and all those things.
Well, yeah, because, once, if I got found out, I would think, well, that's it, my marriage is done. And to me, it was very hard at the time, because the most important thing to me in my life, this sounds a bit contradictory, but my marriage was the most important thing. Yet I had this little secret world of my own.
This addiction, and the most important thing, I suppose, was just not getting caught.
Absolutely.
So normalising, everyone does it. And this is obviously a cultural message, and it's something that's become, because it's so accessible nowadays. So did you ever think, oh, it's okay, I'm doing it because everyone does it?
I don't know if I actually thought that, but I did think, it is okay because everyone does see it. But you're going back to years and years ago, it wasn't as accessible as it is nowadays. It's everywhere you look nowadays. And it's just so easy to find pornography anywhere. But going back when my addiction started, it was very hard to come by.
And remind the listeners, how long ago was that? So you're 60 now.
Yeah, we're talking 40, well, probably 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's quite a long time. And you think now, sometimes when I think about it now, you'd think how easy it would have been to find anything, to when I was trying to find stuff back then in the 70s and in the 80s, where it was just a magazine.
Yeah.
Or, to me, if to be able to find some kind of video to watch some real life stuff, that was just incredible.
Yeah.
But you see it now, and it's that thing. It's just you see it all the time. Sex sells.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and it is a worry for the generation, our younger generation.
Absolutely is, yeah.
The fourth is the illusion of control, which is probably, you may have thought this at the beginning, which is, well, I can just stop when I want. Did that enter your mind? Was that something you thought you could just stop?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to sort of chuckle, but that's so true, because, in my mind, I just say, well, when I need to stop, I'll be able to stop. Which there were times when I was able to stop, with, like, when we first met in our what's so-called the honeymoon period. It didn't even cross my mind at the time of those few initial months of being together. But then I was able to say to myself, well, that's it. I don't need it anymore. I don't need it anymore. I'm free of it. I was just kidding myself, because I wasn't free of it.
Yeah. Now, avoidance is where a man is going to not choose to look deeper than on the surface. So it's not about avoiding porn, it's about avoiding thinking about why they're using it and asking the deeper questions. Is that something that you experienced? Did you ever sort of think at any point before, discovery in our marriage, why am I using this? What's going on?
If I'm honest, I don't think I did. It wasn't until much later on when we, spoke about finding the root cause.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it a thought about that too much. I didn't ask deeper questions.
Yeah.
Because I guess I didn't know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
Or how to work it out for myself. And to be able to work it out with you, well, at the time, obviously, it was so hard, so difficult. But as we went through and started finding out things, it just became much easier.
Yeah. Now, protecting identity, particularly for those with a faith, is about self-image and preventing you from fully facing reality, because you don't want it to fit how you see yourself as the husband. So how did this look for you, Jez?
Well, for me, I knew trust was such a big issue for you because of obviously your past childhood. And for me to know that I'm inside of me, I'm breaking all this trust. And if you knew about it, it would just destroy you.
Yeah.
So there's me, this big strong man who I'm thinking I am. Actually, I'm not.
Yeah, so you're trying to protect your identity as someone who was a trustworthy husband.
Yeah, trustworthy is obviously one of the biggest things, but there's all those other things that come along with thinking who you are. I'm thinking I'm this guy. I'm quite a normal sort of person. I get on with people, but deep inside, I'm thinking, I'm this bit of a pervert.
Yeah. By
watching all this stuff, and I can't really.
No, you're absolutely right. It does come with
a label, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's something that you do think of is that dirty old pervert if they're using porn or something like that. So you obviously don't want to be considered that kind of man. So exposing the fact that you're using porn is very tricky for men who want to protect their identity as somebody who is, standing righteously with God, or being trustworthy in their marriage with their wives. And it is a very tricky issue.
Yes, it is, especially when you say about with Christ, our Father who we trust and we love, and we know that we're sinning. I think in the early days of becoming a Christian, that didn't really resonate in me until much later on, and knowing how God would be about that really made me think hard about it.
So before we continue, if you're listening and recognising yourselves in this conversation, please know that you don't have to figure all of this out alone. Sometimes couples simply need a safe place to ask questions and understand what they're facing. And if that's where you are, you're very welcome to email us at hello@hope-after.com. And if you prefer to talk things through first, we offer a free 15-minute introductory call where you can ask questions, tell us a little bit about your situation and see whether Hope After feels like the right fit for you. There's absolutely no pressure. Sometimes people simply need a starting point.
Yeah, what I didn't realise at the time was that the damage wasn't always obvious, but it was real. I didn't realise how it was affecting us. There was a huge impact on emotional connection. I couldn't see the distance it was creating between us. There was this impact on honesty and openness. I didn't connect it to the way I was showing up in the marriage, the slow erosion of trust. And looking back now, it was shaping things I didn't recognise at the time. That secrecy itself was damaging, not just the behaviour, but how I viewed my wife and intimacy.
So with clarity comes honesty and distance from the behaviour. Looking back now, Jez can see it very differently.
Yeah, what I thought was small was actually huge. I understand now that it was affecting more than I realised. The secrecy meant I wasn't fully present. It impacted my view on women, my view of you, and my view of myself. If I could go back, I would face it much sooner. I would not just hope I could stop or hope it would go away or live in a secret world that didn't sit right with God or who I was as a man.
So pornography use isn't neutral. It shapes our thinking and our behaviour. It created distance, even if we didn't feel it at the time. It wasn't under control, and the avoidance just delays healing. And truth would have been painful but freeing earlier. So, Jez, what would you say to a man now if a man is listening and recognising himself in this?
Would probably say is that you might feel like it's under control, but you're not as in control as you think. The sooner you're honest, the sooner things can actually change.
Yeah, because the avoidance, it just keeps you stuck, and honesty is the turning point. Support is necessary, it's not optional, and that doesn't make you beyond help. God works in truth, not hiding. He doesn't work through what we hide. He brings things into the light, not to shame us, but to restore us. There's grace in truth, but it does require honesty. Nothing changes in the dark, but so much can change in the light. If something in today's episode has helped you make sense of your own experience and you would like support as you navigate the road ahead, we'd love to hear from you, whether that's through a simple email, a short introductory conversation, or by joining the Hope After programme itself. We're here to walk alongside couples seeking restoration. You'll find all the details in the show notes. For now, take heart. The truth may feel uncomfortable when we first face it, but truth is also where healing begins.